I did this fantastic sort of experiment the other day in a leadership course I was facilitating, and we had a speaker come in to talk about design thinking, which is basically that idea that everything is very much customer centric. And she got these leaders to do an exercise where they identified some of the sort of main issues that were facing their sector. And then the exercise was to create ideas that were the worst possible way to address those issues. Like they could
brilliant.
be illegal, they could be immoral, it didn't matter. And they would just free-form brainstorm onto Post-it notes. It was so funny because all these people who'd been really striving to fix something suddenly just were like, wow, everything came out. And then so you put them up around the room. And then you all go and stand around and you talk about them and you talk about why. And they were really, truly, I laughed so much. I was in fits on the floor. And then
that is brilliant. I love that.
The exercise is to take your top 3 of the worst, most immoral, illegal and dangerous ideas you possibly could have, and then find the kernel in that, which is a really, really good idea. And every single one of those groups of leaders turned around and then came up with an idea that they could take out into a pilot, into the market. And to see what happens when you really unhinge that thinking from I've just got this one thing that I need to deliver to like, what is the funnel going to look like? What is the biggest funnel we could have? And then it's a really clever psychological trick to sort of get us to stop hanging on to the things we think. So, and also deeply fun.
Oh my word! I love that story. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. Just take the whole thing. So we're going to build this business. What are we going to think about first? We've got to think about the benefits of it for our customer, the features of our product, and all that sort of stuff. And just go, no, actually, completely the other way around. And I imagine during that workshop exercise that I would imagine that a number of the ones that were actually discovered that were written down, have been products and services that have actually gone to market in the past, and people go, just like these corn chips, or just like that, stupid brushy thing that we used, that no kitchen could do without, and all that sort of stuff. And you're going, wow, that we've actually been here before.
The fun thing about it was too, that I think we have so many unconscious biases and filters that we put in, that so the things that we just won't say, the things that are the worst, the maddest, the baddest, like, so we already have this terribly tight set of blinkers on about what we can do in the way, how we can solve problems, and we've already said no to things we haven't even truly explored. So we've de-risked ourselves unconsciously to the point where very little is getting through. So when you say, when you really truly open it up to say the things you're never allowed to say, and you've given absolute Chatham House permission to just go absolutely ballistic. And I can't repeat many of the things much as I'd like to that were suggested, but because you're doing that in a way which is safe and the purpose of what you're doing, it's really interesting to see how that frees people. It's like, they can just blah, 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 and say all this stuff. And then, some beautiful, beautiful, sensitive stuff came out of that. So I think that was a really interesting sort of reflection for me about when we think we're being sort of open and creative and ideating, that we actually don't realise that we're in this tiny, tight, rigid little box of our own thinking and our own perceptions and our own experiences. And only when we bust that out comprehensively can we really start to find what the real solutions are, because we don't come at it with a preconceived idea. And again, if I can bring this back to my favourite soapbox subject of spirituality, Buddhism and yoga.
Of course.
That's the purpose of meditation. That's the purpose of being able to get our minds to a place where we can have no thing there. It's not about blissful blankness. It's about the capacity to be in a space where we are not making a judgment or an attachment or a belief with something else, which really allows us to hear what people are saying and to really allow them to bring us a solution without feeling we have to push our own ego-driven solution or our own particular set of biases back onto that.